Michael, how you feeling today?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well. So I was talking before the break about this new, and I'm sure you talked about it on PTI today, about the new Brady Rule, where because he's going to be this minority owner of the Vegas Raiders, that
we didn't talk about this.
You didn't talk about it?
Nope, not one bit.
Okay, so because I don't like it. Tom Brady's going to be the number one analyst on Fox. He's getting a boatload of money. Greg Olson was the number one analyst. And now the owners are paranoid because he is the number one analyst and is going to have a stake in the Raiders. They think it's a conflict of interest. So they don't. Well, if it is, then he shouldn't get the job, don't you think? They don't want him now.
Well, you can. Yeah, but that's the world you and I grew up in and lived in. But there's an easier way. You just can't do Raiders games. That's all.
So they won't let. So he's like, let's say he's got Bears Lions, big Bears Lions game late in the season. When his partner Kevin Burkhardt is in the production meeting, say the game's in Chicago, he's not allowed to go to the production meeting. He can't talk to Eberflus. He can't talk to Caleb Williams. He can't take in the Bears practice.
Oh, because he's a Raiders employee.
Yes. And I don't know what information you're going to get that would help the Raiders in those meetings. That's just simply going to help him get information to do his job.
You're right. It's the appearance. It's the optics. That's the problem. That's what conflict of interest is. The appearance of impropriety, the appearance of conflict. And so I don't like it either. I don't like it, but basically Tom Brady didn't. You mean his $375 million contract with Fox isn't enough?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. So there's a conflict. There's no question about that.
Mike, what do you think? What do you think this thing's going to go like? How is this ride going to transpire? Is there a chance that Tom Brady ends up being the best analyst we've ever heard, or the worst analyst, or somewhere in the middle?
I think he'll be really good. I think it's virtually impossible for him not to be good because Tom Brady cares about this. He knows he's going to be judged. He's making a ton of money. This is in his wheelhouse. He can speak with complete confidence and fearlessness about anything and anybody in the history of the league because he's Tom F. Brady.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's going to be great.
Who do you think?
I think Bill Belichick's going to be great. I think they'll both be great. And they're smart guys.
Yes.
They didn't say anything for 20 years each because they didn't want to, not because they couldn't.
You led me perfectly because I was going to ask you, and I want Waddle's opinion on this. The question while they were playing was always, why are they winning? Is it because of Belichick or is it because of Brady more? And now they enter the broadcast fray, and I agree with you. I believe both are going to be super interesting, and ESPN getting Belichick to do this with Peyton Manning to preview this Monday night game for a half hour, I think is going to be can't miss television. Who do you believe we're going to get more out of and we're going to be playing more highlights from and will be better at their job, Brady or Belichick?
It's a push for me right now because I heard Belichick when they chose the 100 greatest players of all time. Belichick wasn't merely great. It was like walking inside a museum.
Yeah.
I mean, Bill Belichick arguably, given his background and growing up with a coach as a father and being a father as a coach and being at the Naval Academy, Bill Belichick may know more about pro football than any living person. So it depends on what I value. If it's stories from the locker room, I'm probably going to get better stuff from Brady. If it's historical perspective, which I care more about, it's probably going to be Belichick. I think I've referred to this to you guys a few times over the years. I've been to dinner with Bill Belichick a couple of times. It's amazing. Because he's not some guy saying on to Cincinnati in a hoodie. That's an act. He did that because he was angry because he couldn't wear a suit like his father. He wanted to dress like Ditka did early on. He wanted to dress like Hallis and Curly Lambeau and his dad. And he was angry at the league because they made him wear sideline apparel. Bill Belichick's a brilliant dude. He's a pain in the ass. He's a brilliant dude.
You know what, Mike? I think he's got a chance to be the better analyst because he's got a broader perspective, because his hands were on more things. And he's been in the league and he's been a part of football for longer. And that's not to diminish anything that Tom Brady did. No. But Tom Brady didn't touch all aspects of that Patriots franchise with regard to getting everyone ready to go. He may have had the greatest impact, but I think Belichick.
But he also never got fired. He never got fired like Belichick got fired by the Cleveland Browns. Perspective, Tommy, you're absolutely right about that.
I think it's going to be fun. I think we'll be playing highlights of both throughout the year. So I'm excited for both of them. Yeah,
I think so too.
Yeah. So what is do you go on record before the season with a record prediction for the Bears?
I mean, I can if you guys make me. I don't care about my prediction.
We're going to make you.
Let's do it.
We're going to make you.
I mean,
Come on.
So they play 17 games.
17-0.
As low as I would go would be 8-9, and as high as I would go would be 10-7. And so I don't know. You can't pick in the middle because it's an odd number of games. You can't go half. I'll say 9-8 with a real. That's real restrained because I don't want to be like an idiot. Could I see 11-6? I could see it. But I think it's more like 9-8 or maybe 10-7, depending on. They got to get like there's some teams in there that are sneaky, potentially good, like the Bears. Like Tennessee could be better than we think. Indianapolis could be better than we. They play that division, which is hard. Houston. So they got Houston, Tennessee, the Colts, and Jaguars. You can play 4 good games and go 1-3 or 0-4 in that.
I'm with you. I'm with you 100%, Mike. I picked him with 9 wins or 10 wins. That's probably where I would fall. I would be much more willing to have you convince me on 11, and I could see 11 more than I could see 8 or 7.
Yeah, I think so. I just think that, but here's the thing: when we talk about the AFC South, if you could play 3 good games and go 0-4, maybe you have a clunker in there, and then
they better go, Michael, I know it's not going to be a walk in the park, but if they lose that opener, it's going to be a crap show here in Chicago.
It probably would be the better thing for their season if they lose the opener.
No, hell no.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Yeah.
No way. No, they can't. They cannot lose this. This is almost a must-win game.
I've been around too many. No, it's not. I've been around too many teams, too many pro football teams where losses early people to pay attention. Tommy knows this. And by the Disco Bears weren't really like this because they tend to get off, except to the bad season, the good starts, the one bad season they had. There's people tend to listen after losses. They pay attention more, particularly rookie young players who can get carried away with themselves. Look, I don't want them to lose. I'm going to be there. But I'm just saying it's probably better for their season if they get off this list.
You know what, Mike? This is where I'll disagree. And I think every season is unique. Last year, their loss to Green Bay defined their season, especially early in the year. That loss did them no favors. That loss actually, I think, tanked them for the first half of the season.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
And I think that team wasn't ready to win. They had very few expectations. This team is ready to win. They have a lot of expectations. I think a loss in week 1 against an inferior opponent won't ruin their season, but definitely isn't something that you'll look back on and say, hey, that was good for this
And Michael, don't forget.
But we don't know how good Tennessee is or isn't. We don't know.
True. But don't forget, it's a nationally televised game in Houston in week 2, which is a really, really hard game. So if you drop that first game, and then that's why you can't. You, in my opinion, you've got to grow confidence around this rookie quarterback. They need to start with a good taste in their mouth, get a little mojo going, and then get off to a good start. And they don't need to get their attention.
The key word you said, though, Sylvie, you're ignoring. They've got to grow confidence, build it. You're not. you're not listening to your own analysis there. And I agree with that. I agree with your analysis. I don't agree that they have to do that instantly. This is not instant oatmeal. Grow it, build it. That's that. Every time you guys have asked me, what do I hope for this team for this season? I have said to you, get better. And I mean it. I'm not saying that just some cliche. Get better.
But
get
I would
better
say
over time.
But Mike, I would say this again. Like if they lose to an inferior team in week 1.
But you keep saying inferior. Why do
they
I
are.
don't think it's inferior.
Yes, they are. The Tennessee Titans are not as good as the Chicago Bears. Now, I'm not suggesting.
But the inferior suggests that the Bears are like a 14-point favorite. I don't agree.
No, I know.
They're not a
Okay, I'll take the
massive
inferior. The Bears are a better football team, top to bottom, than the Tennessee Titans. And I'm saying to you that if they lose that game, they're going to lose that game for one of two reasons: A, injuries, or they weren't ready to play. And if you're not ready to play again for the second consecutive year, that is a kick to the little guys. It really is.
I think you can. I think you can lose and be ready to play and just get beat. So I'm not. I don't. There's very few easy explanations I buy. I've covered too many sports. I've been in too many locker rooms. I've covered too many great players, and I don't believe in any of the easy answers. I don't believe in any of the easy scenarios. I don't believe in any of the predictable stuff. I just don't. And so I'm serious. I want to see them build. I want to see them do what Sylvia suggested before he ignored his own analysis. I want to see if they go 1-4, and then they can win 6 of their next 8. That's what I want to see them grow and build. So I'm not with any of the easy analysis, which is basically, and I'm not accusing you guys of that. I'm saying that fills television and radio airwaves.
Yeah.
Not to mention, God help us, whatever's on the internet.
Look, I've been around a lot of these teams, and especially a lot of these Bears teams, where I just know that the early belief is just it's a medicine. It spreads throughout the locker room. So if you get off to an early start, if you just get that good taste in your mouth, this has been a rebuilding team. At one time, they had a 14-game losing streak. Last year, they started 0-4. This team has lost way more than they've won. It's a new rookie quarterback. And if they don't,
the teams you're describing aren't this team. And by the way, the Bears started off 7-1 a few years ago when you didn't make the playoffs.
Right, and that was a veteran team.
That theory is too easy.
It was a veteran team, but I really believe that when you're a young team, the belief and getting off to a good start to get all things rolling is super, super important.
Yeah, I believe when you're a young team, the thing you have to do is you have to have reason to believe, and that has to be built. And it doesn't happen because somebody says you got to win game 1. It's got to develop organically. And I believe most of the public conversation around the NFL is garbage. It's just presumptuous and it's hype. And it doesn't take into account real things. And I think I'm sounding a little arrogant here because I don't know. I got the benefit of being around a lot of Hall of Fame coaches in more than one sport. And I realize that different sports have different cultures. So it's not the same in baseball when you got 162 as it is in the NFL. But I remember sitting around listening to Pat Riley and listening to Phil Jackson and listening to Joe Gibbs, who I bring up all the time with you guys, and listening to Jimmy Johnson when I was covering the NFL. And, I don't buy any of the easy analysis. So there's nothing in sports is worth a damn that's easy. It's all of it that's worth a damn is hard. And so I look at Tommy, what did that first Ditka team do? Weren't they 2-something in 1981 or 82?
That I'm not sure of.
That team, and by the way, they had these draft picks. It was young. This team is not that young. This team's in the middle of the pack in terms of average age. But, you know, and by the way, teams take on personalities of their own. You have to identify your leaders. You can't choose them. You can't choose them. You can choose captains. You can do all that phony garbage. But leaders have to be identified. And that takes time. So I'm not buying any of the stuff I hear. I'm not buying any of the cliches. I'm not buying any of the easy stuff. Let's see. I'll have a sense of how I feel about the Bears after 2 weeks. And that may be an 0-2, but I'll have a sense of how I feel about them after 2 weeks, not necessarily. And look, I want them to come out and score every possession in week 1. I do. I'm like everybody else. But I'm not like everybody else. And I've been in a lot of locker rooms in my life. And I try to take the lessons I've been fortunate enough to learn from Hall of Fame coaches and managers and just listen up and learn something. John Thompson, Earl Weaver. I've been really lucky in my life to be around people who won championships. And they taught me don't believe in any of this stuff.
Are you believing in the Chicago Cubs at this point?
I like what I'm seeing. I do. And I tell you this, I will say this. As far as I'll go out on a limb is this. If you have that starting pitching with Justin Steele as your game 1 opener, and Assad can give you, you know, what he's done 3/4 of the time, and you have to eliminate Hendricks now. They can do some damage in a postseason series. They could. Because they've got the starting pitching that if it's aligned and they have a little bit of good luck. And the problem for that team is timely hitting because they get shut out more than, my God. I bet they've been shut out more than the White Sox.
They've been shut out 5 times since the All-Star break.
Okay, so they got to be like the league leader in time shut out. And so timely hitting is their issue. But I like the starting pitching. I like the spirit of that team. I like some of the acquisitions. I mean, when you can get a guy that gives you 7 runs batted in, you're not expecting that every week. But I like the spirit that says you can come back from 10-3 down on the road. So I like them. It doesn't mean they're going to do any damage right now, but I like where they're going. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, they got a big mountain to climb still in the standings.
So where are they now? Like 4 games out of the last wild card?
No, they're so it's 5.5, but it's 6 in the loss column, and they lose the tiebreaker. So they 7 games in a month, Michael.
That's too much.
Yeah,
that's too much. That's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let's see what they did at the end of 2014 as they get ready for 15. Let's see that. Let's see some spirit. Let's see maybe not a whole roster overhaul. Stay with these guys. You seem like you have the bones of something good. Let's see them play September out. Maybe get in a nervous spot where they get within 2.5 or 3, and they got some nervous pressure games where they win or lose doesn't matter as much as let's see how they handle it. So I'm liking what I see. Again, I don't think that's going to result in anything tangible this year, but I like what I see.
All right. This portion of Waddle and Silvy brought to you by Steinhoffel's now 5 Chicagoland locations, including the newest one open in Schaumburg on Golf Road. I'm giving you a time limit on this last one because we're up against the clock for Bears Weekly. Okay. So you have 60 seconds again on a Deion Sanders question. They're playing here in 40 minutes from now. Are they going to lay an egg after all the pressure, or will they come out and prove all the doubters, and will they pounce this North Dakota State team?
Neither. They'll win a game. They'll win a competitive game. North Dakota State is too good. They've won 6 of their last 7, I think, against, 1A teams. I think that, in Shedeur Sanders, you're looking at a guy who could be the first overall pick, and he's got the other kid, Hunter, on that team. These are great players. They could be 2 of the first 6 or 7 players chosen, maybe 2 of the first 5. And no, they'll respond. They'll be fine. They'll win the game, but it ain't going to be a pound. And I don't think they're going to lay an egg. I think, like most things with sports, rule out the edges and let's come back to something that's practical and reasonable to discuss.
Sounds good. And I'm glad that we agree that the opening game for the Bears is a must win. Thanks, Michael.
No, I'm glad we don't agree.
Thank you, Mike. And a gimme. It's a gimme.
Because when they come back and they win 7 of 8 after going 0-2, I'm going to be playing some kind of fight song for you guys every week.
Yeah, look, I would take that. I would make
I
that
know
trade
you would.
for sure.
I know you would.
All right, Michael. See ya. Have a good
All right, you
holiday
guys.
week. There you go.
Be good. See you now. See you in person next week.
Yes, you better.
Ooh,